Do I do this properly this time? Am I live? Hello everyone, and welcome to a stream. Don't mind me, I totally didn't just, accidentally start streaming while I was trying to set up lighting just a minute ago. But we're good now, and we can go ahead and get started. so, yeah, so today I was hoping to continue what I started last month, and I'll admit I haven't done, like, any building in Minecraft since I was streaming last with you guys. So, I'll have to, reset a little bit again. I always get really rusty from not doing stuff for a period of time, but then I don't get the opportunity to do stuff for a period of time, and then I get rusty again, so I have to relearn everything all over again. It's a process. Anyway, so the main thing I wanted to do with you guys here today is just keep working on texturing the rocks around the Legend of Alex terrain world. I still wanted to build up this platform for the Wind Temple to stand on and really shape the approach to the Wind Temple. I have to make a decision here as to whether I want to have the Wind Temple be approached from this angle or this angle. And quite honestly, the way I set this up initially was my cool looking cliffs and stuff were on this side, so almost as if I was expecting your view of the Wind Temple to be from right around here-ish. And I was kind of building up this cliff to a similar degree, but I almost wonder if I built it too high because it's actually blocking these cliffs. So I need to squish this down a little bit and establish a good background for the Wind Temple and a good location for it. I also need, like, if I'm approaching it from here, I need a good clear path that leads up to it. So if I made like a ramp that led up from over here. But I also have to decide if I wanted to make the path lead from this angle, which here, I think there's a way for me to speed up. Oops. Again, I have to relearn axiom here. What am I doing? Alt. That do it? No. In here, there's a way to up your speed. Ah. I'm just gonna up that just a little bit as I'm flying around here. So I have to decide if I want to have the approach be from this area, which this is Zora's River right here, and this would be the walk up to Zora's domain, and then here's Death Mountain. Ideally, I would say this would almost be like a Kakariko village location, and that was kind of my plan for it, was to have like a mysterious house where Kakariko village would be. There is no Kakariko village in the time period that I'm doing the game here, so you can't really expect that, but so I don't know if I wanted my mysterious house and potentially a well to be here, but that means that doesn't really lead into the forest very well, but that would be the more ideal approach to my Wind Temple spot. Another area I could do, and this is probably more likely, is have the player approach from this little area here and have a way through the woods, then that leads to there. The final area I wasn't sure if I wanted to do something with is having a thing on the southern approach over here. And the reason for doing this is actually, well, my map has the central region up there is the going to be Castle Town. Here, I'm actually just going to switch into spectator mode so I can up my speed. Yay! Going faster. Give you an idea, this is where Castle Town is going to be. That's Lake Hylia, where the Water Temple is going to be, and then I have a whole bunch of stuff, the desert, Death Mountain, Zora's domain, all up in this area, but there's almost nothing south. So, you know, Lake Hylia, there's nothing in this region right here currently. So my idea would be to add in my parrot race that you go talk to right here, and then you have to use them to then lead you through the Lost Woods to then get to the you know, the Wind Temple here. The problem is that means that there's this little tiny bit of Lost Woods, but what I can do is I can have the player turn and follow the Lost Woods this way and then come up over here somewhere. So I'm leaning more towards that being the approach to my forest area. I also think there's just a little bit too much Lost Woods over here, so I might actually make this more jungle on this side. So cut my line roughly here-ish for jungle-y area. Some of it is I want there to be the Wind Temple, but I also want there to be plenty of terrain around the Wind Temple that it feels more Wind Temple-y. But I'm also wondering if I should add, I like these cliffs, the way these cliffs look, and there's almost none of that over here. So I'm thinking of adding, raising this terrain just a little bit more to make it more bumpy, have more cliffs and such. But anyway, now that I've explained what my plan is, let's go ahead and put it into action here. So I think the first thing to do is I want to be able to flatten this out just a little bit more. So there's the elevation change here. I want to put it into a lowering region. We want the radius to be significantly larger, and I don't really want it to be rounded. I would like it to be more of the flat fall off here. And aha, there we go. So I think the idea is I come through, whoa, and flatten this out, this cliff out a little bit more to create a better viewing platform from down here. So that way you get cliffs, the Wind Temple shelf, and then I want there to be more cliffs over here. So that's kind of my goal for today. At this point I need to actually flatten down and take this and squish it. I don't want to flatten it to oblivion, but at least get some of it down. It also looks like I need to smooth the crap out of this region over here. It looks like while I was implementing this, I didn't do a very good job of smoothing it, so it ended up really choppy. But, and that's why we're working on it now. Go away, little rock. So I think the thing now is to go down and see if this is a good enough level. If I'm standing right here, yeah, that's actually looking a lot better. You get some of the cliffs off to the side here. There's still a little bit of a shelf, but it's not as obscuring the backgroundy stuff. And all of this is going to have the really tall trees on it as well, which is going to help. But yeah, this region needs help though. It does not have anything interesting whatsoever, but I think right now I want to create more of a platform leading down this way, and that would be the approach. It would be cool if I could have, you know, when you first exit the Lost Woods, this is going to be your view of Wind Temple, and then you have some sort of approach. I almost wonder if I need to actually push this a little bit closer to the Lost Woods, though. Because Yeah, I would like it to be a good view when you come out of the Lost Woods. So I might actually raise up the terrain and make this cliff come a little bit more forward. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to flatten up instead, I guess. To expand this shelf. So if I do that, then we end up with a really ugly cliffside. But that's actually what we need for the moment to just establish our terrain. Still just trying to make sure that whatever approach we get looks decent. That almost looks like I need to make it more of a sharper cliff right here. So to do that, I'm actually going to go to the flatten down and lower the Y limit to pretty low, and then I can almost carve into the edge there. Whoa, that did not do what I expected it to do at all. Well, that's interesting. Not at all what I want, but it's interesting. Maybe that wasn't such a hot idea. How do I want to do this? Do I want to create... I kind of like this shape, so maybe if I come in like that. Ah, there we go. That's kind of creating more of a cliff edge there. I'd like the cliff edge to actually progress this way a little bit more. We can flatten up this region over here. Because I kind of want this to be another cliff. I don't really want you to be able to approach the wind temple from the back side of it. So that's kind of the point of having this cliff side here. And once again, go to the flatten down, get that curve going, and establish more of a cliff line. Problem is, I worry that you could still potentially find a way up this thing. I almost wonder if I need to just like really define a cliff edge here. I don't know that I succeeded in that. If anything, it now looks more round. That wasn't what I was intending at all. Yeah, I like that better. I just need it to be more of a, you know, straight up and down-ish thing. Flatten up, go back to this. So I kind of want this to extend all the way to the Lost Woods and have this be a cliff that raises up out of the Lost Woods a little bit. And I might extend this just a little bit more. I want there to be plenty of room around the wind temple here. So that's what I'm trying to establish, is like a good sized shelf for the wind temple to stand on. And then I want these to be more cliffy things over here. So what I can do is do the same thing. Or expand that. I kind of liked there being a little bit of a shelf there, so flatten down. Like maybe right there. There we go. Maybe? I almost feel like this is a little bit too boring. I wonder if I need to, because I like how we've got this nice rock up here. I need another big rock up here, I think. I have one kind of started here, but I think I'm going to try to make it come up higher. I'm not sure the best way to go about doing that, though. If I do a raise and just raise this up, maybe I can get something cool looking out of that. It's almost a little bit too rounded at the moment. And yeah. Ah, big spike! How do I... Oh, skip, go away. Some of this is off of the edge of where the player will be standing, so the player will never approach it from this angle where it looks really awful, but you want it to look like a good backdrop is what I'm trying to do with this. And right now it's way too smooth over there. Oh, I have a rock tool. That's right. I should just make a big rock. Maybe... ellipsoid. Does that do what I want it to? Other way. How do I make it like an ellipsoid this way? Height. Doi. And then radius. Aha! That's what I wanted it to do. Alright. That's better than the raise and lower tool for this, I think. Up my movement speed again here, so I can actually get around this faster. There we go. There's some nice rocks. I don't like that last one. If I make it a little bit smaller, I can start adding a bit more detail into there. And we can add some rocks along the edge there. Whoops. Oh, see, that's what I should do for this entire cliff edge. That looks like a good cliff edge, and then I just need to fill in all of this and clean up the edge of the actual thing. There we go. There's an idea. Sticks out just maybe a little bit too much there, but again, if I fill it in, haha. I can add little bits and blobs to make it look more rocky. That one was a little bit too big again. Alright. And I just do the same thing down here, because right now it's just too smooth. This adds just a little bit more variance to it. Sort of. Again, shrink the size as we get to a more detailed level, and then I'd like to have, let's see here, if the approach to this area is from coming around there, then I want the platform to actually level out this way. So here I use my slope tool. Kind of want to establish from here to here. Oops. Here to here. Aha, there we go. So if this is my slope, I can then fill in all this. Hi, Soup! That is not smoothed out over here at all. It works great over here, but not so much over here. This should be smooth, and it is not. That ended up going way too high up there. Dare I use the flatten tool on it, though? I worry that that's going to completely eliminate all of the slope I just did. But it would regulate things a little bit first. There was an error when posting a YouTube comment, Soup? What happened? Go flatten down. Whoops, that chunked out way more than I wanted to. This part, I think, is what I need to flatten down a little bit. But see, that kind of killed my slope, like, a lot. That was what I was worried about. Do I dare try to put that back in? That kind of worked. What does the smooth tool do for me at this point? If I were to... Aha! It kind of blends things a bit together. I think one of the things I need to do as soon as I've got this shelf established is I need to actually try to put in my wind temple and see how it looks. And then I can better establish what I want to do with it. I do have to be a bit careful though, because I want to have a copy of the world without the wind temple. So I'm going to be putting in the wind temple and then promptly removing it. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I'm going to be implementing this into the Nether as well. I did mention that I was having troubles with that in the last stream. I was worried about it, but after discussing with my team, aka Ari and Soup, we kind of came to a conclusion that what we're going to do for the Nether. So the problem with the Nether is that it wasn't. You couldn't. While the height was changed in the overworld, the height limit, it was not changed in the Nether. Is problem number one. Problem number two was that it had fog, way too much fog. To the point where you can't see anything, and trying to explore a big giant world with a terrible fog limit sucks. So that was where I wasn't sure if I wanted to use my idea of taking the overworld and just splatting it into the Nether. It would be quite terrible. So what we've decided to do instead is kind of, and this was inspired by the rift area in Echoes of Wisdom for me, was to basically take little bits and pieces, little chunks of the overworld and implement it into the Nether region, so that way it could you don't have to explore the entire world in order to get to the different regions. You just have to get to Nether portals that then lead to the section. So if you go into the forest, there would be another portal that leads into the forest region of the Nether, and that kind of thing. And then there would be like big walls to wall off everything else. And part of the reason for that is I could adjust and lower bits and pieces of the map, was initially my thought. But then Ari pointed out to me, she's a lot smarter about things than I, she pointed out that apparently there's a way to actually adjust the height level in the Nether using custom dimension controls. I had no idea you could do that, but Ari pointed that out to me, and so I actually don't need to raise and lower bits. I can just have little chunks. You know, that, well, what I don't, excuse me while I flub over my own words and thoughts. Yeah, so basically, I don't need to raise and lower different sections to meet the height limit, because I can make the height limit high enough that we need to make it, and then it'll incorporate the whole world. So I didn't need to do any finagling with that. But I still thought it was a good idea to separate out a forest region of the Nether, Death Mountain region of the Nether, and the reason for doing that is so that way you're exploring in the overworld, but then having it teleport you to different sections in the Nether, so that way you're not having to explore in the giant world in the Nether. Because again, the fog level, I don't think I can change, and that sucks. Yeah, Soup says Ari is our savior. She really is. She knows her stuff, so that's I'm grateful for having Ari on the team to help out. So, and she's fun to play games with, so I hang out with Ari quite a bit. See, this is what I have this issue right here, is it's almost coming up and over too much around that edge. It's making a little bowl right here. So I think I need to flatten down a little bit. Whoops, that wasn't the right one. This one. Here, to really get this as a cleaned up edge. I can leave some variance, but see, that's almost too much of a gap right there. Just manually go through and alter every level. Oops. And that's okay right there because the terrain was kind of bumping up there anyway. So I'm not as concerned about this rock. Oops, actually that probably needed to stay there a little bit. Suppose the thing for me to do for you right at the moment is actually, I should load up the Wind Temple schematic and drop it in so that way you guys can kind of see my vision a little bit here. Ooh, I like that a lot. Just having more rocks and more variance to the terrain there. Perfect. It makes me almost feel like I need something to go back there, but I'm right at the very edge of that. So if it is, it would just basically be a facade at this point, putting a really thin strip to cover that for like a cliff that goes in the background. So maybe I won't do that. I do like having those rocks. And I like the various levels here, so that way there's going to be a level line of trees here, and then more up above here. I think that'll be great. Right now everything is uncolored, so it's not colored the right way it should be, but that's what I get for altering my terrain. Anyway, loading in the Wind Temple. So we're going to go schematic load. I don't know if this is an old version of the Wind Temple, but if it is, that's okay, because that just means that it'll look different later. I'll just go through and get the more updated version of the Wind Temple later. Let me paste it in the middle of the air so that way I know what it is, what it looks like. Ah. Yeah. This is definitely an old version of the Wind Temple. There's nothing inside of it. Pretty much. We have since edited it greatly. But this gives us an idea. Oh, and it doesn't even have the top on it. This is a very old version of the Wind Temple. But it'll give us an idea of what we're working with. So if I put on the Wind Temple hereabouts. And then we come out of the Lost Woods. I have to really determine where we're coming out of the Lost Woods from, because I kind of liked being able to come out on with a straight on view of the front of this thing. But that's way the heck over here. And there's like this much region of stuff going about. But if I create this slope to be more here, then we can enter from this angle and then have a slope to walk up to. I did kind of like having a bit of the cliff side here. This cliff is way too rocky though. Like blobbish. I kind of need to flatten this out a little bit more, I think. I do like that this gives me a firm idea of what I'm looking at. This is in the Lost Woods right at the moment. Yeah, we're in the dark forest, so you wouldn't come out until almost here. I almost pushed it a little bit too close to the edge of the Lost Woods. So perhaps what I should do is actually chop this cliff a little bit more and then put the wind temple a little bit closer to this cliff edge here. Having the wind temple here is actually helping me a lot, because I was before going like, wow, these cliffs are huge, and then I put in the wind temple and it almost, well, not almost, it does dwarf everything. Darn it. I didn't want it to do that. I have a big region here that's more of the coming in, but I'm not sure if I want to come into the wind temple from an angle like this. Some of it is I had the wind temple on, I had the approach to the wind temple how I wanted it in the previous terrain, but it was too boring of terrain just in general, and so I'm trying to almost recreate that effect, but I don't know if I'm succeeding. And I can always change the border. I can squish out. This is an awful lot of, yeah, this is an awful lot of the dark forest. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this brush, and we're going to turn it into a biome brush, and I'm going to change the biome and lengthen this region here about to make it more jungle. So we're going to do that. Oops. Where's my biome brush? Soup is asking about the fire temple. The fire temple is one of the nether temples, actually. The only temples I have are for the overworld is going to be the wind temple, the earth temple, and the water temple. I know technically it should be more of a fire temple for the Death Mountain region, but I kind of liked the idea of having it be an earth temple instead. And I had already built my fire temple, and it's going to be in this exact region, just in the nether. So that's my goal for that. Let me just here sit up a little bit. Biome brush, that's what I'm trying to do. Is it brush biome? Ah, that's what it is. And then I do sphere. I'm not actually holding anything. That would be important, to actually hold a brush. Right, brush, biome. I know how to write sphere. And we're doing a jungle biome over here. And we want this to be a stupidly large brush. Too many arguments. What? Shape, radius, then biome type. It wants me to do a 10 over here. That's why. Okay, so we're just going to push back this jungle. I also want to, I think I want to change the ground that I have for the Lost Woods here. Part of the thing is that there's, in my mind, you can't have grass underneath big trees. It just doesn't happen that way. Usually you end up with more of a peat underneath, and then you get underbrush. But in all of the Legend of Zelda games, the Lost Woods does have grass on the bottom. So, I don't know. Should I have it be grass, or should I make it more of a natural peat look? I'm not entirely sure what I want to do for that yet. But this gives me a good idea of exactly where I want this biome to be. You can see it, I need to actually change this to match this over here, but I'll do that next. Oh, apparently my lost woods was going all the way up here. Whoops. Yeah, I'm glad I'm changing this because we need more of the lost woods is going to be boring because it's going to be, you're going to be blinded while you're in it. And so it actually doesn't make as much sense to have a large lost woods and a teeny tiny jungle. So instead I'm going to make a larger jungle with a teeny tiny lost woods in between. So how was everybody's 4th of July? Did you all stay safe? Blow off any fingers? I always am a little bit wary of fireworks just because, well, I used to go over to my uncle's house for 4th of July all the time, and he would invite a bunch of people over. He was a big party person, and inevitably half of them would get drunk, and then they'd be launching fireworks. And I can't tell you how many times we had artillery shots where the tube fell over and they would launch somewhere on the ground and explode. Thankfully, my uncle had the forethought of, he had a big field that we would do this in, and he would purposefully run sprinklers for an entire day beforehand over the entire field to make sure everything was soaking wet so nothing would catch on fire. But there were a couple times that those artillery shots would launch at the house. So sometimes I'm a little bit wary of fireworks just because of that. And I've probably done more dangerous things with fireworks than I should have. Like, as an adult, I look back on those times and go, maybe that wasn't so smart. You know, things like making sparkler bombs and etc., etc. But I think when it really hit home for me was when I was in college. One of my college professors was actually missing most of his hand. I think he had 2 fingers left, and they were deformed because he had accidentally fired off a firework in his hands and completely blew it apart. So I'm always a little bit wary of fireworks because of that. But I also don't want to just like be a total bummer for my kids for fireworks. But I'll admit, you know, for our 4th of July, we just had a couple of small things that that my son could light off. Things like smoke bombs and poppets, and we had a couple of other things like ground flowers and stuff, but that way we could teach him how to light fireworks in a safe manner. Oh yeah, fireworks are very dangerous at times. But that's why we try to teach the fireworks safety to my son. But the problem that I had was I had my baby with me. I was carrying her, and our next door neighbors were launching artilleries up into the air. And yeah, I maybe made my baby cry a little bit because she suddenly goes so I basically at one point just left my husband to continue to launch little fireworks off with my son while I took baby inside because she was not happy about that at all. Oops. I need to establish some brushes to get rid of this. I think what I'm doing... How did I have this? I have to look at my gradient and actually determine what I did to make this gradient over here. I think... So those are different from the moss and that, so I have to do something slightly different. green lime terracotta looks like, and I left the grass. What did I do for this ground? I don't know. I'm just going to say, I'm going to turn this into the dark green terracotta, I think. So we're gonna say, do a brush, green terracotta. Oh, I need to do a sphere. Sphere, green terracotta, and we want to make it a mask of oak leaves. I think that's what those are. Yeah, that looks right. Perfect. And so I can up the size to be like 15 or so, just to really clean that up. Oh, right. I forgot that you're Canadian, Soup. Like, I logically knew that. Of course you wouldn't celebrate 4th of July, but it's not something I always think about, I'll admit. Yeah, and I'll admit some of my joy for celebrating 4th of July stuff is a little bit dampened by... I haven't exactly been feeling particularly patriotic lately, we'll just phrase it that way. So, it's like, yeah, fireworks are fun, but there are enough issues with that I have with our government right at the moment so that I'm a little bit, you know, woo, freedom, except it's not really freedom that we're celebrating here. But I'll not get into that. We're going to do another thing here. What is this one fading into? Is this because we're replacing these leaves? These ones are the fir leaves. I don't really want to have any of these weird patches, so I don't want to go into those. I'm wondering if I just need to replace it with moss. Yeah, we'll do that. Moss block. And do a mask of the... It's not called fir trees, it's called spruce leaves. Silly Shells, I know this. Yeah, that'll work. Perfect. Maybe leave that one just a little bit fading better. That's part of the issue with making drastic changes between biomes, is you have to make sure that they blend properly. Right now they're maybe not blending quite so great, but I also don't want to have to manually paint in a blend. And so I'm kind of avoiding doing that because that sounds like a pain to do. So something I could chat about is Soup actually brought up the fact that he's working on a project right at the moment. Would you be okay if I talked about your project, Soup? Wait for confirmation before I just start jabbering away here. Alright, cool. So the thing that Soup has been working on, Soup is another member of my Legend of Alex team here, and what he's been in charge of is making the boss fights. And he just recently showed me what he's been working on, and it's looking really, really cool, and I'm so excited to show you guys. But essentially what he's doing is he's making the water temple fight. And it basically I gave him a rough idea of what I wanted to see with this water temple fight, where I was like, well, I kind of want to use a phantom, a giant sized phantom, because the phantoms look like giant stingrays, and I thought that would be such a cool looking boss for the water temple. And he took that and has actually made it into a fully functioning boss, where it like climbs up out of the water, spins around and shoots out arrows in a wide spray, targets the player and noms on them. I think he still wanted to work on an attack where it like leaps out of the water and body slams one of the platforms that the player can be standing on, so that way you have to like yeet yourself out of the way. So like that, it looks so cool right now. But he's doing this really intricate thing where in order to make the AI for the boss, he has to like put invisible armor stands, and he's like putting them in an arc to make it actually look like it's leaping out of the water in a beautiful, beautiful arc. And some of that, like, I can do some basic command stuff, but that was a little bit beyond what I could do. So the fact that Soup's going in there and just like coming out with these fully animated boss fight attacks and effects, it's really, really cool. I'm excited to show you guys. So it sounds like Soup's working on that while I'm working on this over here. He actually sent me the data pack, and I'll admit I haven't actually pulled it up and looked at it yet. But at some point what I want to do is be able to actually pull it up for you and show you everything that Soup has done here. Alright, so the next thing I want to do, I think that's lime concrete powder. I should actually look at what this is. Ugh. Yes, well, actually it's green concrete powder. Cool. Green concrete powder, and we are masking birch leaves. Yeah, so Soup wants to have, will be happy, says he's going to be happy to help me present it to you guys. The main thing is he says he doesn't want to talk in the videos, so he'll probably be there in-game, but won't be. I'd love to be able to be like, so Soup, what have you done to make this fantastic thing? And instead I'm going to be like, well, he made this fantastic thing. I have no idea how he did that, but you know. There. And size 15. Perfect. What kinds of issues are you running into with the data pack, Soup? He's saying he's having some problems. I don't know anything about data packs, I'll admit. I know how to do command blocks, and that covers the extent of what I know with some of that. You get into data packs and resource packs, and I kind of flounder a little bit. Oops, I missed some, but it's in the back, so nobody's gonna see that. Well, actually, I still have the brush, don't I? That brush? That brush, yes. Okay. Yeah, so Soup's been doing a lot of his work with the data packs part in particular, and I will admit that I can't really help him with that because I don't know what it is at all. With some of the other command blocks, at least I can be like, well, I know that this is possible. I don't, maybe not sure exactly how, but I have a rough idea of what's possible and what's not possible, so I can be like, okay, I know that Ari can go through and make a working hook shot because she can, makes armor stand magic happen. But when it comes to the data packs, I'm just like, well, you make a thing and you just tell me what to plug into the server and then it works or something. Oh, so Soup says he's having troubles making a custom animation before the boss dies. Can't you, and this is again me spitballing because I don't know what I'm talking about, but if you, so the problem you're having is the boss is dying and then you're not coming up with able to make an animation. What if you summon a second entity that then functions as the death animation entity? So there's only one entity for doing a death animation after the boss runs out of health. Other problem is you'll have to manage SFX to prevent being spammed. That one I have no idea what you just said. Yeah, so Soup, when I was making bosses before, that was what I ended up doing was, well, for a lot of the bosses, I'd actually have another entity that was actually taking the damage instead of the one that you visually saw. So I usually had two entities overlapped. One was the one that you visually saw, and one that was like an invisible iron golem, so that way it would just like die and then disappear, and then I could, yeah, still have the boss there to do a death animation afterwards. But in the case for your thing, I think it's complicated enough. You don't want to have two entities running. My other bosses were super simple, but that's what I would do, is probably have another entity summon at around the same time. And if you don't want to have the first entity make a animation and then do a death animation, what you do is you teleport it away and have it out of sight, and then instantly teleport the other one where it was, and then run the death animation on it. Sound effects. Gotcha. Well, a lot of the sound effects you can implement things like doing a sound effect when it's about to cast something, or building up an attack, so that way it gives the player enough time to react to the attack. But I could see how that could potentially be spammed. I remember working a lot on doing sound effect stuff when I was doing bosses before. But I don't remember specifically what all I did. Is this enough room? If I come out of the Lost Woods from, like, say, over here? That's a better view, I think, looking at it from right here. So I think I've succeeded in where the limits should be. Oh, I need to get rid of this thing. What are you supposed to be? Are you the green terracotta, or, oh, it might be the green concrete. Yeah, we're gonna go with green concrete. Brush, sphere, green concrete. Do a mask of dried kelp block. And a size of 15. There we go. That looks a bit better. I still think there's going to be kind of a stark line between the two, but this at least cleans it up a little bit. The other thing I could do for the Lost Woods is just leave it as the same coloring for the rest of the grass in the world, but I just, it feels wrong to do that. Do I not have something that replaces fur? There it goes. Okay. I keep calling it fur leaves, and I don't know why. I think it's because I haven't played Minecraft in months. Spruce leaves. There we go. Perhaps I should have left those, but this is like on the very edge of the map. Nobody's coming in this way. Oh yeah, any ideas on what we should name our Phantom Manta Ray boss? I'd like to keep with similar naming conventions as to what you would see in Legend of Zelda games, but I want them to still be interesting. My main thought is you have Morph Eel from Twilight Princess Water Temple boss. You have Morpha for Water Temple boss. So I would probably want something that follows a similar naming convention, but it's a manta ray. I don't want to just be like Morpha Ray, because that would be boring. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do for the name. Soup, what did you name it? You had some, like, underwater bat name or something like that. Oh, you like the Morpha Ray? I mean, push comes to shove, nobody's gonna care that much about what the bosses are named, so that could very well be what we name it. Morpha Ray. I almost wonder if I need to actually put this more into the Lost Woods, because we're entering from over here. I don't want the player to think that they're almost there right when they first enter the Lost Woods. Oh, you just gave it a random name. Yeah. So we'll probably have to come up with proper names for all of our bosses, but the name can be changed very easily. Good to know. I don't know, dare I shove the Lost Woods up a little bit closer here, or should I just call that good? Because some of it is I want to be able to have platforms on the outside of the main temple area, where you can, the idea being trying to get in there. So this is going to be the platform where you fight a mini boss on this level of the Wind Temple here. But then I wanted you to be able to have some platforms to fly between. Or not. Yeah, kind of fly between. Because the item you get in the Wind Temple is going to be a crippled elytra wings, is basically what it is. I'm making a rock cape. If you remember from, I'm pretty sure they have it in Minish Cap and the Four Swords. You get a rock cape that lets you jump and float for a second and then land. I was going to do something similar with the elytra wings, where it'd probably like wind charge you up in the air, and then you get like 3 seconds of flight, and then the elytra drops you and you land, and then it replenishes. Is my idea for the item you get in the Wind Temple here. And I was looking at, especially since it narrows up here towards the top, it's thicker down here and it's narrow up here, there's just not enough room on the inside of the Wind Temple, so I actually wanted you to have a platform here that then you could fly around the area of the Wind Temple, have like more little towers in places that you could then do some platforming to then get up to the main boss room. Is kind of how I imagined doing the Wind Temple. So that's why I wanted there to be more of a region around it a little bit. I have to be a little bit careful though, because again, I think 1250 is the edge of my map. Oof. That means this is the edge of my map, right here. So perhaps this is being, yeah, I think I'm going to need to relocate this Wind Temple here, because where it is not a good spot. Because it's right at the edge of the map. So unless I did something where it went over into this region and then came back around to the Wind Temple. Yeah, how do I want to do this? Where's the back edge of this? See here, 1250 actually goes up a little bit onto the edge of the cliff, so I could do like a platform up here even. That could be cool. So that's actually decent length coming from the cliff edge to the edge of the border here, doing something up here and then coming back down. I just think it's too close to the edge on this side, so I might actually extend this out a little bit more, maybe? Or I could just leave it as it is and not have it go completely around the temple and just do one side of the temple, but I was hoping to get, like, do a full circle around the temple, so darn it. I'm gonna have to establish another cliff line, I think, and move it. Maybe. Come here, you. So if I move this like 20 blocks that way, not far enough. So if I move it like 50 blocks this way, it has to think about that. There it goes. Yeah, so I'm gonna need to extend this cliff over a little bit more in order to do that. yeah, Soup's talking about he has access to a server that has my old map on it, the old terrain with all of the like Wind Temple and such. And I actually made a little village for my parrot race. I'm doing a parrot race because I didn't want to do the Kokiri, because the Kokiri are elusive and are the childlike race, and they live in the Lost Woods. So I'm not sure I want to have the Kokiri in the game for this. But I needed some sort of race to have your character talk to. So I thought to myself, we have parrots in the game of Minecraft that would make a good race to talk to. And then I thought about it, you get like the loft wings from Skyward Sword. So I was thinking of maybe doing, having the idea of where the loft wings evolve to actually just become regular sized birds. Which fits with the lore a little bit, because you do have the parrot that talks to you in like Twilight Princess, so you know that there are talking birds. There are also larger birds in Wind Waker that are the Karga Rocks. So I'm going to have a parrot race that you talk to, and the name we came up for them is based off of the Karga Rock name, only it's parrots, so we're doing Parra-Rock. Was kind of the idea we were spitballing for our bird race. And yeah, I built a bunch of cute little bird houses for them to live in for their village. And I'll probably be putting that village down here, just a little bit east of the of Lake Hylia, because there's this big empty region right here. So I think I'm going to put the larger trees and my little burb village right here, so then you can go from this area to then going through the Lost Woods and making your way to the Wind Temple from there, is my plan. I'm gonna go ahead and delete the Wind Temple for a bit, so that way I can actually, because I worry that if I try to alter the terrain with the Wind Temple right there, it's going to mess things up. So I'm gonna remove the Wind Temple and then alter the terrain, then splat it back in. Set air. Whoops. There. Poof! It's gone. And now we can enter back into Axiom and extend this out more. So we want to do a flatten up, larger radius. Sure, we can raise the Y limit. This doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but it's good to have it at least somewhat flat-ish. That way I can push the Wind Temple more to sitting right about there-ish. There. That's a decent spot for it, and now I just need to actually make a ramp that leads up to it. So we're gonna go back to the slope tool, and we're gonna increase the radius, I think, and go from here down to here. And smooth out that as well. Why does it raise up for that slope over here? That is not what I wanted it to do. Now I do a flatten down and come over here and say, hey, stop that. And then I need to attack it with a smooth brush. I need more slope. Here down to there. Curve that way. Why does it raise above the level that I want it to? Flatten down. That is still quite a sharp slope. Do I change the angle of it? Is that what I do? Looks just a little bit too smooth, but I don't know how much that'll actually matter, because you'll be walking up this ramp. It's kind of a climb. That is something that I always do is, you know, you make all of these really pretty looking things, but then the actual ascent up to it, it's like, ugh. That was a heftier climb than I thought it would be. Yeah, I think I need to have this come more forward. Back to the slope tool. Oops. Once again, it looks way too smooth. Some of that I can kind of put some like little rock bitsies just to chunk it out a little bit more. And then use the smooth tool on it. Oops. What I should do is actually put down like a block that is my exiting the, where do I want to exit the Lost Woods from? I'm almost thinking right here. This spot right here might be my exiting the Lost Woods spot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a block here, a diamond block, so I can see it. There. So that's your view. Oh, this means though that you have to go down a hill and then back up a hill. I don't want to do that, so maybe not. Where do I want to exit from? If I do it from over here, then we'll end up at a really side view to the Wind Temple. But Yeah, we're still having this issue of going down and then back up. But this is like the level here. How do I want this? Because I'd like to be able to start low and then make it a climb up into the wind temple. I almost wonder if I need to burrow this land down a little bit. Right now it's making kind of a hill. I think I need to make it be more of a divot. So let's do it. We're going to elevation, lower it, but I don't want it to be like too over the top, so I guess, do I lower the rate and increase the radius? How do I do this? Beest thou a bowl? I'm hoping this is working the way I'm intending it to. It looks alright so far. And we'll clean it up with a smooth brush. Some of it is I kind of want this to go out, so I wonder if I should take a flatten down method and start from over here and kind of create a nice bowl down here at the base of this. So I want you to be looking up at the wind temple rather than being on the same level as the wind temple. That way, if I come out of the Lost Woods from right here, I'm still at the top of a hill. I want to be able to look up at the Wind Temple, so if I were coming out of the Lost Woods from like down here, that'd be great, but I think I need to bump it back even further. More of that. Yeah, I might need to just make this entire Lost Woods section a big old bowl. I need to increase the radius. Oh, that's as high as it lets me do at a time. Well then. Alrighty. Now, exiting the Lost Woods takes you to there. That's the point that you exit the Lost Woods. Still means that you're like going down a hill into the Lost Woods region here. I think I still just need to completely eliminate a lot of this hill here. All of this needs to go away. Goodbye. I can leave some of a hill because I don't want you to be, you know, looking into the Lost Woods and be able to have a clear shot looking into... Whoa. What did I do? I didn't mean to do anything. Oh well. Hello, Twangerine. I see you wave. I am always happy to have people come and see. I'm glad that you've enjoyed my series of doing architecture. I'm excited to be working on the next one. I was going to start on it more this month, but I had my family over, so I had to take a little bit of a break from it. But I am beginning to make plans for building a Baroque and Rococo thing, so it'll take me a couple more months to work on it, I think, but that's my plan, is to do the Rococo side of stuff. So I'm excited for going into Baroque for my next architecture video. You know, I just had another thought here as I'm building this. If you're coming in from this angle, I worry that you're just initially going to see the wind temple from there. I almost wonder, well, I'm kind of thinking of pointing at the screen like you can see exactly where I'm pointing. I'm thinking of having this cliff actually curve outwards and jut out into this region to block the view from the entrance of the Lost Woods, so you don't see the wind temple until you actually get up into the approach here. If I make the approach... Shoot, go away. I wanted it to be more like here, I think. I might need to go back and splat the wind temple in again, so that way I get a good idea where it is. Here-ish. Paste minus air. Maybe not quite there. Maybe back a little bit more right here. I almost wonder if I need to flip the wind temple so that way it's facing out this way instead. I liked having these as the backdrop, but that would require me to have the player go all the way around over to here. I don't want the Lost Woods to be overly long, because I think that would be horribly tedious. I think I need to make the angle of that slope less. I think I need to make more rocks here. Alright. Rock tool. Rockify this region. Rockety rock, rock, rock. So I think I want... there to still be cliffy stuff through here. But then I need to fill out that made a weird shape. That's kind of a nice cliff shape there, but I need to smooth out, make that even more of a lower slope, I think. So if I that's a really sharp angle, I want it to be less of a sharp angle. Something more like that. But it still begs the question of, am I having the player come into the out of the Lost Woods here? Or am I having them come out of the Lost Woods over here? I don't like this angle on it. I kind of like this angle more. Just, it's just trying to figure out how I'm going to get the player to that location. It's the main thing. Looks like I already made this jungle over here and I didn't actually clean it up at all. Exit the Lost Woods here. Oops, that rock is covering up that entrance though. Maybe exit the Lost Woods on this level? Like right here. So then you just have to climb this big long thing. It's almost like, seems like too big of an approach though. Perhaps I had this be too sharp of an angle. So maybe what I should do is actually raise up. I know I've been lowering this all, but I'm wondering if I need to raise it up a little bit to equalize that a bit more. Because I wanted you to look up at the Wind Temple, but not quite this steep of an angle. Because then you have to go, oh, that's a big long trek up to the Wind Temple. So, yeah, we're going to actually do a bit of a flatten up a bit, I think. I hope this doesn't kill anything. And of course this all needs to be raised up more too, I think. I know I'm spending an awful lot of time on this area, but I think terrain is one of those important things that needs to look right, especially around the temples themselves. And the moment I made this entire forest region, it was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. And so I think going in with more intent is going to help it significantly. Alright, exiting the Lost Woods here is the goal. Shoot. This is... Where is the edge of the dark forest? Here, yeah. Soup, I do believe I have answered my favorite, Legend of Zelda game. It was, Majora's Mask. I think Ocarina of Time is more of a classic, but Majora's Mask, it's just my favorite. It's so weird and quirky and has a lot of deep meaning and impact. I think that one's gotta be my favorite. There's been no other Legend of Zelda game that has quite, I don't know, influenced me more than Majora's Mask. That one really struck a chord with me that none of the others have quite to the same degree. I do think that Ocarina of Time is a close second, though. I will always be an Ocarina of Time fan. Which is one of the reasons why the gameplay here that I'm doing is going to be very, very heavily inspired by Ocarina of Time more than anything else. Oh, you're fine, Soup. I don't remember a lot of things, and I ask similar questions all the time. Alright, so now that I've raised this up a little bit more, I actually like that a lot better. I still feel like this hill needs to go down a little bit more, I think. Just this one little region needs to be a little bit more bowl-shaped here. And then smooth tool it so it looks nicer. Okay. There. I actually wonder if I need to bring the dark forest up a little bit more now. Because if I were to exit the Lost Woods right here, that'd be great. So yeah, I might bump the edge of the Lost Woods just a little bit closer. I suppose what I could do is have that, the Lost Woods still technically end right there, the dark forest, but have it so that way you're in jungle for a little bit in a bit of a transition, but you're still blinded. But then once you reach here, I think that's where I want to... Yeah. And do I like these rocks partially blocking? I feel like I need to dip a little bit more this way and maybe stand up just a little bit more here. So we're going to do a flatten down, significantly smaller this region a little bit more. Oh, there's a hole here. Hello, hole. Let's fill that in by doing a flatten up. Good. Okay. Go back to flatten down mode. Kind of bring those down a little bit more, and then I can do my rock tool and put more rocks leading up over here. How does that look? That could actually be higher, these rocks. Need to make sure it looks good from all angles. Okay, back to my diamond block. It's kind of rounded that way. I think I need it to jut more that way. Oops, that button. Oops. That didn't go according to plan at all. I do think that when I have like a purposeful shape when I'm building the terrain, I do slightly better. I'm still not particularly great with terrain, but like actually giving myself the viewpoint and being like, I need this to go up more, and then I can actually start constructing my view better. That's framing that heck of a lot nicer than before. I do worry that it feels like these cliffs are a little bit too far away almost, but I also wanted there to be enough of a region roundabout that I could I could, you know, do some sort of going around the edges here. This is rather abrupt here. This is a big empty region. Like, yeah, I'm going to be putting trees here, but boy is it empty right at the moment, and that in particular looks bad. How do we fix that? Do I add just a little bit of a slope? Maybe like there to there and just slope that up a bit more? Do a flatten up from here. That spot looks weird. I'm gonna maybe run a smooth tool. Haha. Yeah, let's smooth tool some of this. That's looking decent. And I still wanted to actually make these cliffs come and block the view of the wind temple over here. Because right now, yeah, I'm going to have the player come into the Lost Woods, and yeah, they'll be blinded by the time they reach this spot, but it still kind of looks like you could just walk in a straight line and reach the wind temple. So I think I need to just like create a big cliff right here. Here's hoping I don't ruin everything. Let's make a big ol' rock. This one I might, Soup is asking if I have a predetermined order to completing the temples, or if it'll be more open world similar to Breath of the Wild. I was kind of hoping to have it be more open world like Breath of the Wild, where you can choose which direction you go, but the worry with that is I have to make every temple with the assumption that you can complete it without having the items from the other sections, but also make it so that way you can't use any of the items from the other sections to cheese the temple. That's gonna be the trickiest bit on it, and it does mean that it does make it so that way you use that item in that temple and like nowhere else, is some of the worry that you get as well. Two sides of that coin, so I'm not entirely sure. What if Legend of Alex were a sequel to Breath of the Wild? No, because in the timeline, Breath of the Wild occurs at the very end of the Legend of Zelda timeline, and I know that doesn't matter to some people, but it matters to me. I'm a big timeline person with all of the Legend of Zelda stuff, so actually in where I have my game taking place, timeline-wise, is occurring before Ocarina of Time, after Skyward Sword. So I was thinking roughly maybe 300 years before Ocarina of Time is where it falls in the timeline, if that gives you a rough idea. But what that means is some of the characters from Ocarina of Time are actually showing up in this game. So characters like Volvagia, the original one before he was killed by a Goron hero. We have Koume and Kotake, but as young versions of them, because they've said that they're something like 360 years old by the time of Ocarina of Time. So I want you to encounter them as a young version. And then Rauru the Light Sage are 3 reoccurring characters that you see in Ocarina of Time, you'll actually see in my game. So that gives you an idea of where it falls. But yeah, as far as the open world thing, you're right that, whoops. Clicking wrong buttons. Yeah, having the open world always gives you the problem of, making it so that way there's a disconnect between all of the different dungeons, and you have to make the items so that the way they don't feel overpowered in some places, because you don't want to take the item you get in the fire temple and end up using it to cheese the wind temple, that kind of thing. That's a really tricky balance that I'm not entirely sure the best way to address. I did kind of want you to be able to do some of these in whatever order until you reach, so I was going to have you be able to do dungeons 1, 2, and 3, then have to approach the Gerudo Fortress, and then open up the Dark World so you could do the Dark World in any order, was kind of the thoughts that I had. But, yeah, some of the, and I've been building it, I had the thought of, with the water temple in particular, I was like, oh, I'm building it based off of the item you get in the water temple is going to be Riptide 2 Trident, so you can fling yourself up in the air. But then if you go and get the rock cape from the Winds Temple and combine it with the trident, apparently you can go really high up in the sky and just cheese things. But I want to make it so that way, when you do complete all of the dungeons, you can cheese. It makes world traveling easier, and you can cheese things. I was actually also thinking of, once you complete the overworld, giving you the Song of Storms, so that way you can start having it rain, and then you can use your rock cape trident, riptide trident, to just fly around the map, basically. Because at that point, yeah, sure, why not? Make it easier for the player to just blast through the traveling exploration part of the map. So that's kind of was one of my goals to do, but I might end up just making it so that way you have to do things in a certain order, in which case probably the order would be Wind Temple first, Water Temple second, Earth Temple last, for the first 3 dungeons here. And then I haven't established enough of how I want to run the Dark World yet to know what order I want to make those in. Yeah, Twangerine, I've been trying to... That was one of my goals when I was making this map, is I wanted it specifically to fall in the original timeline. And I think I wanted to do that partially because I was a little bit frustrated that Breath of the Wild was so far ahead in the future of the timeline that the previous games didn't matter at all. And then also on top of that, when I made my previous map, Legend of Zelda map, I didn't do any tie-ins with any of the Legend of Zelda existing Legend of Zelda story. It was basically what made it Legend of Zelda-esque was the structure of having a forest temple, water temple, fire temple, and then, but otherwise it didn't have any other connecting features to lore and stuff, and that really bothered me about my original map, and so I wanted to fix it. So this is me attempting to fix it. So that's where I've been on purpose trying to make the lore make sense. Make it have a place in the timeline and what have you. Alright, I like that. Needs to be flatter on top now, though. So we'll do a flatten up and increase the size a lot again. Yeah, I think last stream somebody asked what I was most proud of for my map this time around, and one of my answers was actually the lore that I've built up. I've spent a lot of time just like coming up with, how do I want the story? Where does it take place in the timeline for the Legend of Zelda? What kinds of characters are you going to encounter? And that's been one of the things I'm the proudest of this particular map so far, is that I've spent a stupid amount of time just thinking about it and how I want to incorporate things. And that's where I hope that people like it when it comes to the end. Part of me worries that I've spent all of this time like thinking about it, but unfortunately what it boils down to is this is a very elaborate, extremely elaborate fan fiction. That's what it turns out to be. So that always means that, like with other fan fictions, if you don't like it, then too bad. You know, I don't know. It's easier to dismiss a storyline that's a fan fiction just because it's not canon, and so most people will be like, yeah, it's just some garbage fan fiction. I'm hoping that it doesn't come to that. I also worry about the storyline being too similar to, the fact that I have reoccurring characters like the Volvagia and Kotake and Koume is another problem there. It's like, does it seem like I'm just cheesing and using already existing characters too much? I don't know. But, I mean, it's a Legend of Zelda game that I'm making here. How many impas have we gotten? How many links have we gotten? That's just, kind of reusing some of the same characters over and over again. Well, kind of a lot, but... So, I'm hoping people will be forgiving, and then I remind myself, it's a Legend of Zelda map. Of course people are going to be forgiving. So long as the map plays well and is fun, people don't care about the story as much. I'm not making an official Legend of Zelda game here, but... Oh, you forgot the, Volvagia and Koume and Kotake. That's fair. I'm just I'm an exceptional Legend of Zelda nerd. I like doing and that's why I'm building this, is because I am such a nerd. You're still going to be able to see the very top of the Wind Temple, but at least it doesn't feel like you can approach from this angle. So I think that's reasonable, and I'm happy with that. I'm wondering if I'm at the point... Oh, that looks hideous. Let's clean that up. I think I might need to build up some of that. Flatten up this region to fill that in more. Lost my train of thought. Is this, aha, this was all in, technically, the Dark Forest. Well, it is no longer Dark Forest all through here. This is all going to be pretty well established jungle. Though the Dark Forest does cover all of that. I almost wonder if I need to have this cliff edge extend all the way over here to further frame this entering spot here. Yep. Maybe there. That is a good first view of that temple. Alrighty. Yeah, I think I need to extend those cliffs to frame just a little bit more. I almost wonder if I can actually have them jut up more so it further obscures the wind temple here. So if I could have these come up, and then I want it to completely block all the way over to there. So that way where you approach over here feels like a much more, this is the one way to the wind temple sort of approach. Shrinky dink it a little bit to get more detailed rocks going. I did not like that one. Oh. Right. I hit Control Z to undo that one. There we go. Now this area is starting to look a lot more intentional in the scenery. I do think this could maybe be chunked up a little bit more over here and fill this in so that way it's flatter on the top. Flatten up in a really large region. All of this. I will say, this is a heck of a lot easier to put in mountains than what I was doing before when I was videoing. So Axiom is really coming in handy here. I'm really glad that I'm working with it as opposed to, I don't even remember what other mod I was working with, but it was a older one and I had to work with an older version of Minecraft in order to use it. It was certainly better at doing terrain than trying to do everything with World Edit, because World Edit is not the best at doing terrain at all. So yeah, what would we do without Axiom is I am glad I am taking the time to learn Axiom here, because this is a heck of a lot easier than what I was doing before. But let me make this a little bit smaller here. I think that was one of the reasons I kind of left these cliffs the way they were, was because the method I was using before was just taking too long to make even a simple cliff. But now that I have Axiom, that's why I'm coming in here and just like really filling out this forest. And so far I think it's turning out really cool. I hope you guys agree that this looks way better than what was here when we started. and then I can paint it and it will look beautiful, and then I can delete the wind temple and actually paint other parts of the map. Hand stretches occasionally. I don't know, I can play for quite a period of time here. I have like nice pads and stuff to so that way I'm not killing my hands down here. I used to get really bad carpal tunnel stuff in my left hand a lot, but that was because I had my armrests on my chair, and I would always dig in my left arm so bad that my entire hand would go numb. And I eventually looked at that and said, you know, that's probably bad for me, and I completely removed the armrest on that side to get rid of that habit of leaning so badly on my left arm. I still have the armrest for the right arm because I can kind of rest my arm on it while having it still gripping my mouse, but yeah, no pad for the left arm at all. This is... that looks a little bit funny. We're gonna change the way this looks. I think some of that will be better if I do a flatten up all along this edge here. Eety beety 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 bee. I also have to remind myself that this is going to be completely covered in trees, which will help hide things. So yeah, the top of the fort, the wind temple, is going to stand out from this cliff edge, but there's going to be trees on top of this cliff. But that's also why I'm trying to flatten this region on the top, is so that way I have enough room to actually put said trees. So then if this is a nice flat area, that'll be good to spam trees. If it gets too rocky, it's just harder to put trees in that kind of stuff. I like this little shelf area though, so then you can have a lower shelf. Having little shelves to vary the terrain helps a lot too, so that way it adds layers to your terrain. So I'm trying to not just like completely kill those while I'm doing this. There we go. And then I can also run a smooth tool over the edge. I maybe round out things too much, which is part of the problems I had with some of my cliffs in the past. Was it was so rounded that it's hard to distinguish where the cliff ended and grass would go on the top, and I still end up doing that really badly. But that's just because I'm not very good with terrain. I'm not entirely sure how to fix that bad habit, because you know, when I'm looking at it, if I have it too chunky, it just looks wrong to me. But then the moment I hit the smooth tool, then it just kind of goes it looks really rounded and plush. But this is what you get for having me do the terrain. Whoa. Do I just leave that? Have a little kind of cave over here. No, I should probably fill that in. Come here, rock tool. There we go. Might flatten that region just so that way I have another little ledge to put trees on. This here. And another one right here. Might do a flatten down to create sort of a line right here as well, just to vary the rocks there. Maybe I need to do that tool for the flatten down. This needs to be flattened up more. Right there. And then that needs to be flattened down just a little bit. There we go. That's starting to look more like a natural rocky cliff face instead of just a big blob that I shoved in. It is still a big blob that I just shoved in, but that's beside the point. There we go. I think that's pretty decent. This side. The funny thing is this side is the side you're gonna see more. Do I like the way it looks? It's okay. It's not bad, but it's not, you know, good either, but it's workable. This is where you're coming out of the Lost Woods, right here. It does feel like I need something right here. Ender Dragon for Volvagia. Actually I had an idea for Volvagia. So the problem with the Ender Dragon is it's very much a westernized dragon, whereas Volvagia is more of a eastern oriental dragon. So I need a dragon that just looks like a big long snake with lots of legs on it, flowing hair. So my stupid idea for it, and I say stupid because I don't know that I can actually get this to work. But if I had basically a big long chain of varying sizes of magma cubes strung together, then I could basically make a big snake out of magma cubes. But the problem is I'd have to figure out how to make one follow a path and then all of them follow the path immediately following. In order to get it to serpentine in the air, would require a stupid amount of programming. Like, the stuff that that Soup did for making just the one entity jump and leap out of the water. Imagine that a million times, trying to get a whole bunch of magma cubes to make figure eights in the air. This is why this is my my stupid idea, because I don't think it's feasible, but boy would it be cool, and that's kind of the effect I would want for it. Yeah, that would be a lot of armor stands in math. And totally outside of the realm of possibilities for what I can do with my abilities, but throwing it out there to you, Soup, if you could get that to work, that would be amazing. But if you can't get it to work, I would understand, because that's kind of a big ask. I am liking the way that this is looking, though. This terrain leading up to the Wind Temple looks great. I'm happy with it. I think it's time to actually start painting it now. And although I could paint it with Axiom, I know there's a way to do it. I think I'm just going to paint it with World Edit because I'm more familiar with it. So I'm actually going to delete this Wind Temple again, though it is nice to have as reference for stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna delete the Wind Temple. We'll replace it when I'm actually getting the proper Wind Temple. Again, this is an old version of it. It's been fixed a lot. Don't underestimate the Minecraft community. Yeah, I think you could get the Volphagia thing to work. It's just going to be really, really challenging. If you can. Again, that would be like peak. But that's a long ways off. Obviously, there's so much to do on this map that it's going to take me several years still to even complete, unfortunately. So don't feel like you have to hurry and produce results, because I'm not expecting results right away. Alright, let's start painting. I think the first thing I have to do is, oops. I don't really need this as the biome brush anymore. I'm gonna do a schematic load of, well, let me do a list first, so that way I can remember what it's called. I think it's grass texture. Where are my textures? Uh-oh. I swear I had some texture schematics saved. Darn it. That was my main grass stuff. Oh. It's just as well I missed some of the dark forest stuff over here. Alrighty, well, maybe I will just use Axiom to paint this then. Shall we see what Axiom can do with the paintbrush? Gradient painter. Ooh. Can I make it grass blocks with moss blocks? And start from there, I guess. What? Oh. What do you mean you painted 96 blocks? I didn't see you do anything. I don't know how to make this work. Biome painter? No, that's a biome painter. I don't want it to be biome. Ooh. Noise. Cool. Grass block. Moss block. Add another one. That's lime oh no, it's green concrete powder. That's right. Green concrete powder. If I look like I'm floundering, it's because I am. I've never worked with this before. Oh, you liked my stained glass window video? Yeah, I was really happy with making the stained glass. Oh, I do not like that at all. Oh no. That looks so bad. I don't know how to fix it. Alright, well, we're just going to go back to my original plan here and do world painter, because that looks terrible. It looks like some sort of disease. I'm trying to think of if I have the, I thought I had the schematic saved somewhere, but I thought it was grass texture. And I don't see it here. It makes me worry that I lost it, because I sometimes switch over the, what versions of Minecraft I'm using, and I wonder if it deleted all of my like rock textures and grass textures, in which case I have to manually recreate my gradient again. Right. Just because it bothers me, I'm going to actually first and foremost make a brush that is doing grass blocks with a mask of grass blocks. Sorry, of dirt, I mean, and getting rid of all of the dirt. Just so that way I can more clearly see what the heck I'm doing here. Ah, much nicer. Wow, that green is so vibrant in the jungle. I almost worry that I need to just turn it into a forest, just regular forest biome, because it's so bright. Like stupidly so bright. Some of that could have been colored in more, where this color could have been over there. But my worry, well, not worry. It could be done, and I probably should do it. But it's at the edge of the forest of the Lost Woods, and I don't think you're even going to make it that far, and I don't care. So I'm going to have the trail of the Lost Woods take you around to over here, and then we'll... You won't actually go up to the edge of the... Not there. This is still saying it's the dark forest right through here. I might actually change this back into a biome brush. There. Now, should I paint the rocks first, or should I paint the grass first? Should probably paint the grass first, and then put the rock textures in, and then put more grass textures in. I wish I had my grass texture schematic saved, because that would make painting this a heck of a lot easier. I'm wondering if I should try to go nab it from somewhere, but I don't know where that schematic would be saved. Sorry, just smoothing out this grass because it was bothering me how it looked. A lot of this could use more smoothing over here. And I'm still trying to determine how do I want to go about trying to paint the grass texture, and since I seem to not actually have the schematic saved, I might have to save painting for painting that grass region for another time. I might just go do something else for a little bit, and then the next live stream we do, I can actually properly paint all of the rocks over here and all of the grass, and get this section finished, because right at the moment I'd have to scrounge around and try to find where that schematic is saved. So I might save the painting section for another time. Oh yeah, Soup, if you want to mess around with trying to make my magma cube serpent, that would be fantastic. I think it would look so cool if you could get it to work. If you need help, I'd be happy to also experiment with what little I know how to do. I'll probably be spending the next month or so in Minecraft stuff. I'll probably be starting the build on doing Baroque architecture, so that way I can actually get that video out to you guys. So I'm saving all of the terrain stuff for live streams, and then I'll be doing architecture videos in my free time. I say free time, but I don't have free time. Here we go. I think, other than painting, this region is starting to really, you know, come together. Oh, twisty columns is all you remember about Baroque architecture. Baroque actually has a lot of ovals. They were obsessed with ovals at the time, and so, like, they have vaults that are based off of an oval structure instead of doing, like, rectangles and squares. They would put the vaults to ovals, which is going to be the biggest headache trying to figure out how to build that in Minecraft. It's one of those things that logically I know what it's supposed to look like, but actually trying to build it and then trying to figure out how to explain to you how to build it is its own sort of thing. So we get to play with lots of ovals when we're doing Baroque. Yes, St. Peter's is Baroque. I need to stop finessing this and just leave it for another time. Alright, one more thing to do with you guys before I get off here, and this one is going to be painting, but I don't already have a previous texture that I have to dig out to do this, but I do want to do this with you guys. Is I'm actually going to fly over to Death Mountain and we're going to do the inside of Death Mountain, because currently I have this really cool stone texture on the outside, but the inside is just nothing. It's nothing. So I need to establish a lava level and then make a gradient that goes from this brown texture all the way to black and then fade into orange to go to the lava level is what I'm wanting to do. I'm really excited about trying to make this work. So hopefully you guys enjoy doing this for a little bit, because I think it'll look really, really cool. I don't know if I'm going to have the player go into the caldera, into the center of the Death Mountain here, in-game, because I want to say that I do want the player to go sort of in it, but because otherwise Death Mountain, what's the point of having Death Mountain if you can't go inside of it, you know? And I do have a couple of regions that look like it would be cool to have. I'm on the far side of it. Other side of Death Mountain. This is Hyrule Field. I think right here, this spot looks like a good spot that I could put a cave that leads into the center of Death Mountain. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do is, I have to figure out the purpose of having the player go into Death Mountain as some of the thing, because my Earth Temple, I don't know where I'm putting it yet. And I don't know, like, I have a building for it that looked great in my original map, but it was too small compared to my other temples and compared to everything else, so I need to basically use the same ideas for my Earth Temple, but rebuild it from scratch. And part of me was thinking of putting it back here, kind of behind Death Mountain. This is really rocky terrain. It's going to be a pain in the butt to try to put a temple here, but maybe putting it right over here was kind of my plan for it. And so that would actually work a little bit, because this is Gerudo Valley, which is going to be a very hostile spot right through here, because in my timeline and story, the Gerudo are actually actively attacking Hyrule. So all of this region up here is going to be staked with like encampments where soldiers from Hyrule Castle are trying to attack the Gerudo, there's going to be at some point I'm going to have the player try to make their way through Gerudo Valley to then get into the desert, and they're going to be attacking Gerudo the whole way through, basically, is my plan for that. And I want them to also, I want the boss for the Earth Temple to be where the Gerudo are actually trying to infiltrate the Earth Temple, and you're trying to kick them out, basically. So the boss for the Earth Temple is going to be Koume. So just one of the twins for Twinrova, the fire twin specifically. I hope that's Koume. It might be Kotake. I can never remember which one's the ice one, which one's the fire one. But basically, the fire witch is going to be the boss for the Earth Temple. So I was kind of thinking of having it in this region, kind of at the base of Gerudo Valley and towards Death Mountain. So it might actually even go just like right here in this spot. But I haven't determined where I want it to go. Koume is fire and Kotake is ice. Woo! I got it right. Though you put an I think at the end. That does wonders for my confidence. So I don't know if I want to have, because Volvagia is actually the guardian of Death Mountain, and that's where I want you to encounter Volvagia before he goes mad and terrorizes everything, and part of the storyline is that he goes mad and starts terrorizing everything, and then you have to help defeat him, is part of my story that I'm going for here. So I do want you to talk to Volvagia and encounter him, but I don't have... I was right, haha. Koume is the fire one, Kotake is ice. Cool. Anyway, that's pretty irrelevant. So I don't know if I'm actually going to have you go into Death Mountain per se, but I do want you to have a spot where you talk to Volvagia. So it would be cool to like have this be a tunnel that then leads into here, and then build a shelf. And honestly, what I should do is carve out that cave and then paint. But I'm going to be a butt and paint it first and then carve it out, because I make life difficult for myself. That's basically what I've done for Zora's Domain as well, as I've painted it first and then I carved it all out again, and now it's back to being stone and I have to paint it again. But, you know, that's its own issue. For the most part, I think it should be fine to do the big gradient, paint this region. So let's go ahead and actually design my gradient. So we're starting with, at the top, oh, you like Zora's Domain? Do you want a better look at it so I can show it off and be proud of it? Yeah, so my idea with Zora's Domain, and I was really fighting this, is I wanted there to be, the entrance is over here. Normally Zora's Domain entrance is with the main waterfall, but I just couldn't figure out a good way to get the player to actually like fly through the waterfall. If you recall in Ocarina of Time, Link's able to jump from this archway straight through the waterfall, and that's just too big of a gap that I made here. Oops. Though, something I could do with it is, and this could be a way to force some linearity, is if I make it so that way you get the rock cape from the Wind Temple, and then you have to use that to get into Zora's Domain to start the Water Temple quest. could be what I end up doing. Uh, but I didn't do that. I made a big hirking hole over here instead. So, yeah. This is what I've done instead is just made a big cave entrance off to the side to then enter Zora's domain proper. And this, of course, is going to be a big pool of water. You climb up around the outside edges here. I was originally going to put this more in the cave for the actual water, because I'd made all of my water experiment effects because they looked really cool. But then I figured out that what I was doing the water effects with was just having it set to night, but having it in a cave actually makes it darker than the ambient light you get at night. And it looked awful when I put it in a cave, so I'm actually okay with leaving it mostly uncovered here, and then I guess you just get the cool water effects only at night, which is kind of a shame because it'll be really boring to look at this during the day. But yeah, nice little platform you climb up here. And then this over here would be Zora's fountain. And I'll probably create a throne room like thing on this platform that you can, you know, obviously I haven't cleaned it up as nicely as I would want it to be. There's holes in my Zora's domain. I need to shape this a little bit better, but my idea is essentially having a platform that would be the throne room where you can talk to King Zora up here. I don't think it would be the same King Zora as Ocarina of Time. It would probably be his predecessor. Either that, or I'll have you talk to Jabu Jabu himself. Korok holes. I'm planning on I'm not doing Korok seeds because there are no Koroks in the timeline at this point in time, because the Koroks are the Kokiri. But I can, I do plan on hiding things around that act like Koroks, and what I'm going to use it for Korok seeds is actually going to be cookies. Because, you know, it's a, hey, you found a cookie, yay! The worry is that you can, of course, eat the cookies, which would be unfortunate, but, I'm going to have the player be able to collect cookies in places as a Korok seed thing to find around the map. Anyway, so I might have you talk to Jabu Jabu here, and then this would be Zora's fountain up here, which then leads into the several waterfalls. It goes down here in a waterfall and also comes out over here, makes a little bit of a lake, and then continues the river down over that way. I mean, what else are you going to use cookies for? They're the worst food source in the game, are a pain to craft. They have no purpose other than, yay, you made some cookies. So I'm going to have cookies that you find in places. Cookies suspiciously shaped like a Korok seed. Oh, gross. You don't want to eat Korok seeds. Sorry, I don't think the consumption of fecal matter is approved of. Anyway, yeah, I've been happy with how I've shaped Zora's domain here. I wish I hadn't put it so far behind Death Mountain. I wish I had put it more like right here, just because it's such a pain to travel up Zora's River to get to it, and it's like in view of Death Mountain. But that's okay. At this point, I'm not moving it. It would be too much of a pain to move it. But yeah. So I could do something similar where I basically carve a big hole leading from the, yeah, somewhere down here. Where did I want to put it? No, up right here. Right there. I would carve a hole from here into the caldera. I could do that, or I could just leave it for right now. And I'm inclined to just leave it right here because I don't know where I'm putting my Goron village. I don't know where I'm putting the Earth Temple. Those are the two main things I have to worry about. Because I was kind of thinking Gorons could be somewhere up over here, but I made this terrain so rocky that it's almost going to be difficult trying to find a spot to put Goron village, other than I guess I could put it like right here. This would be a decent spot for Goron village, I suppose. Goron city. But then where do I put the Earth Temple? Do I put it back over here? If I put it too far that way, it's going to be too easy to access. I want you to encounter Goron City before you encounter the Earth Temple. But if I have it too far this way, I'm going to run into the edge of my map because, similar to the Wind Temple, the edge of my map is right here, right at the edge of the water. So where the river comes down is actually... So I could put the Earth Temple right here. And that's likely what I'll end up doing. I also had the silly thought of trying to put the Earth Temple in the desert. But I want there to be the Gerudo... You go through the Gerudo Gauntlet and infiltrate the Gerudo region on your own. The other place I could put it is here on Gerudo Highlands. Right on this spot. But then I have to figure out how the heck are you getting from down there to up here. And I also don't want the player to just go from up here and jump down into the desert and run over to the Gerudo region without going through the Gerudo Gauntlet. So, because I'm indecisive about all of that stuff, I can't really go around poking holes in Death Mountain. So... Goron experimental cannon. Shoot the player up there. Wah! I like that idea. Silly though it is. But I think the main problem with having the Earth Temple on Gerudo Highlands is the fact that I don't want you to infiltrate the desert just yet, and that would be so hard to keep the player from getting in there. Just one of those bugs I have to work out. But I do think what I could do is have, for the accessing to the Death Mountain, an idea I had is you go and you talk to Volvagia. Well, actually, you go in to talk to the Gorons, and then they say you can go up to Volvagia, but they advise you to not until you defeat the Earth Temple, and then you can go talk to Volvagia, kind of thing. Is my somewhat idea with that. In which case, something else I could do is, I do have this little platform here. I could maybe have the hole leading up to Volvagia coming from here. Walk up this region and then like have an entrance somewhere over here. I don't know. That would prevent you from just like walking straight into Death Mountain from the Hyrule field. I like that idea better than having it over here. And then I could have the lava a little bit further up. Anyway, I still haven't done any building with you guys here, so let's go ahead and I really need to lay out my gradient as it is. So we're going from granite to dripstone to ancient debris to soul soil, and now we need to take it darker. I think I had some spots that I was maybe putting in some even darker blocks, but now I don't see them, so maybe not. But logically, the next thing would be black terracotta. It's not afraid would find that. I should probably lay this out somewhere so that way I can more definitely see my gradient. Do I lay it out on top of here? Sure. We can lay it here. So there, down, and we want to go down to black. So black terracotta. That might be too much of a gap, is the worry. But that's the best dark brown that you get in the game. Hang on. Oops. There. That's the controls. I'm gonna turn down my speed because I'm like going crazy doing the fly speed. Alright. And if I were to do just brown concrete, I worry that it's too saturated, plus it's actually slightly lighter than the soul soil, so I'm not using that, but I do worry that that's too much of a gap, and I'm not sure what I could bridge the gap with. This is too saturated as well. Dark oak might work. No, this is the wrong color. It's kind of this weird purpley color. I don't know that there's going to be another color that works better with it. Brown terracotta is also... Oh, is it lighter? It is slightly more saturated. I think it's slightly lighter than the soul soil. So I think I just have to bite the bullet and have this really stark, dark color that is there. And then I can go from there to, do I jump straight to black concrete from there? Maybe, actually. And from there I can then fade to, well, I don't want to go too, because that's almost too gray. Do I go straight from there to orange? Probably, to maintain my colors. I don't really want it to be gray inside. What does the gilded black stone look like? So I know that that has like some of the cooler I do like that block, and I kind of want to try to use it. I just don't know if that's a good idea. So the other thing to do is, you know, fade to orange. What orange blocks would I use? Probably resin towards the bottom. No soup, I am not familiar with Vintage Story. So if I'm trying to get from resin to that, I probably wouldn't have this as one of the blocks. Probably start even with just like the ancient debris for going around the corner. I don't need all of the rest of them. That's where I'm ending. I think that's too desaturated of an orange for those, but let's look at red sandstone maybe. I don't think I'm going to be able to use the gilded. That'd be really cool. Like having it mixed in with the... I almost wonder if I need to just, instead of going to black concrete, just fade to black stone. And then I could mix in some of that as like some of the lava bits. Ooh. Yeah, maybe. Because if I could have like cracks of gilded running through, like veins of it running through the black stone, that could be cool. Well, I'll have to look into Vintage Story. Hey, it's soup. I will admit that sometimes when it comes to like sandboxy creative games, I tend to just lean towards Minecraft because it gives me some of the most freedom. Recently though, I've actually been playing House Flipper 2. I've had House Flipper 1 for forever and finally bit the bullet and got the second one, and there's actually a lot more creative freedom with their sandbox mode. So that's been my one of my things I've been doing. But I think some of my reasons for doing House Flipper is because I'm at the point in my life where I'm like hoping to get my own house within the next couple of years. Kind of wish I could get one right now, but the housing market is awful. But you know, I'm at the point where I'm like dreaming about what my perfect house would be as I have my family. I want to give them a home, and so that's where I'm just like, I want to build this for my house. And so like that's hence messing with House Flipper 2. You know, that's just me doing dream house stuff. I need a good bridge from this to there, because that's too way too stark of a difference. 3. Of course, there's magma blocks, which would be perfect for use as well. I'm actually wondering if I need to get rid of this and just go from resin down to the gilded. I almost wonder, is that a too stark of a jump to make? Kind of, yeah. So if I could find something between magma block and the gilded black stone, that would be cool. So it has to be something really saturated, but darker than the magma blocks. It might not happen. I also wonder if instead of resin I should go full on like shrooms to really add more light. Oh, I know there's online tools to help you find the right palettes between blocks, but I hate that. They tend to use blocks that I don't wouldn't normally use. They don't balance textures as well, in my opinion. And I did that whole video on gradients, so that's I tend to use textures as part of my gradient rather than going from something super crunchy to something super smooth. As it is, I'm a little bit worried about using the black terracotta in this, partially because it's so smooth compared to all of the rest of my crunchy textures. But I think it'll be okay. But I do wonder if I need another something else to break up that gap. But for now I want to get this gap taken care of, and I'm gonna stare at blocks here for a second. I could do something crazy like ooh. Yep, that's the winner right there. I know it's strange, but I think that could be cool. I'm not sure about the shroom lights. I think I might go back to resin. Come here, resin. Problem with the resin blocks is that there's not like they're almost a little bit too structured. So I almost wonder if I need to do this also has the structure. It does look kind of flamey though. Yeah, all right. That's cool. Oh, you prefer the shroom blocks? Well, I don't think it'll be too much because it's, you know, the light level is, it's fading down into lava blocks here, but, oh, the texture of the shroom lights looked better. A little bit, because the shroom lights look more natural compared to the rigidness of the and we have this emits light, so it would make sense to have the shroom lights also emit light, which would also be really cool to see at night, potentially. This is probably one of the sillier gradients I've done, and once again with gradients I'll probably be like, yeah, that looks great, and actually paint it in and be like, no, never mind, I'm gonna make 50 million changes to it. But let's go ahead and give it a try. So at top, where we do need at least dripstone, I think, in order to get some of this stuff over the ridge. So we're gonna do a brush that's a sphere of like 75% dripstone and 5% granite. And 20% of the ancient debris. And the mask for all of these is going to be exclamation point air. So that's what that looks like. Oh, the size needs to be much bigger though. Be 7? Yeah, okay. And then we're going to go I'll do oh, you know what? I should have had that block be there. We're gonna do that. And then this one we're going to make so that way it is 70% ancient debris. And then we'll do no granite, but we're gonna have the dripstone. But more than 5%. If I do like 10%, then that would leave 15% for the last one. And we could have it be going even darker to the soul soil. Uh-oh. That would do it. And mask exclamation point air. Make sure that's applied to both of those. And size 7 for both. Soup is talking about coming up with ideas for what I'm doing for the Wind Temple boss. So he's saying we could do a buffed up breeze. It would work. We'd probably increase the size because that itty bitty breeze is going to be kind of pathetic. My thoughts for the Wind Temple for lore stuff is the idea that the spirits of the forest spirits have been unsettled, and so like I was going to have vexes be something that you fight in the as just mobs in the Wind Temple, basically as fairies that have gone rogue. If that makes sense. And so and I was kind of wondering if I could also use ghasts, because they kind of look like big ghosty things, so I could have some ghasts that you fight. And yeah, the breezes make sense with, you know, stylistically because they're wind, so of course I have to use breezes somewhere. My worry with breezes is that I put an awful lot of trapdoors into my Wind Temple, which then means that all my trapdoors are gonna go unless I cover them in barrier blocks or something. I kind of wish that the wind charges didn't activate trapdoors. Yeah, the gray allays is the vexes. That's what I was saying. But that was just for mobs that you fight in the actual temple. I still need I still need I need both a mini boss and the final boss for the Wind Temple, But yeah, that's where I'm thinking something, you know, like angry spirits, and the breeze could work for that. Would probably again want to up its size and probably do some, you know, something more than what it does currently, which is just bounce around and shoot at you. But I don't have any real plans for that, so alright, back to making my gradient here. This one, we're going to have basically move everything down by one. The 10% ancient debris, 75% the soul soil. And the 15% brain is not remembering what I'm doing. Black terracotta, that's it. And once again, do a mask of air and size set to 7. I know I probably could put some of that in the actual brush thing, but so the next one to do is going to be, I need something even darker than that. Let me see here. Just go. Yeah, sure. I like to keep my swords making gradients that kind of match up with what I'm doing, because I'm weird that way. Sorry, I'm reading what Soup's talking about. He's still talking about coming up with ideas for bosses and such. So Soup, I have an idea. I already told you what I was doing for the Earth Temple boss. Earth Temple boss is Koume, a young version of Koume. It's going to be a Gerudo with swords that will shoot fire. I can't use iron golems because those are my Gorons. Honestly, my lore for the Earth Temple is that it's under attack by the Gerudo, so the Gerudo in this case are actually going to be pillagers, so you're going to be coming across Ravagers in the Earth Temple, and, you know, things like that, the grunts. That's the main plan for the Earth Temple, is you're fighting Gerudo to get through it. Yeah, I didn't want to do both Koume and Kotaki together for the Earth Temple. For one thing, I kind of liked just doing the fire one, but I might also put Koume as a boss fight, or not Koume, Kotake as a boss fight in the Gerudo region. So you fight them separately. You first fight the fire one in the Earth Temple, and then you end up fighting the ice one in the Gerudo region. So oh yeah, I'm trying to do all sorts of things at the same time, and so you can see I'm scatterbrained all over the place as well. But yeah, we're gonna say back to this. So at this point, the soul soil is going here. This is going to be black terracotta. And this one is going to be our blackstone. And then we start doing backwards gradient here. This one is going to be terracotta. Black stone. And then the gilded black stone. And then stone, gilded, and what is that block called? Is it? Oh shoot. So we've only got gold block or gold ore. It's technically gold ore, but it's gold. Alright, I have to look at it. What are you? Nether gold ore. Gotcha. Alright. Now I have to put that all back in here. Black stone. Gilded black stone. Nether gold ore. There we go. Oh, criminy. I was apparently didn't actually grab the right. And now this one is probably, yeah, this steps. That one needs to be that. Okay. Next. We're going back to these guys, I think. Shovels? Shovels. There, that makes more sense. Okay, yeah. This one is gilded. This one is the nether gold ore. And this one is the magma blocks. And you're going to be magma and shroom night. Alright, and then we just do the mask exclamation point error on all of these. Doing it on all of them because I don't remember what I did for all of them. Which ones I did or not. And then we'll make them all the same size. Whoops. Perfect. Alright. Now I can go set all of these guys to air. And make them disappear. And we can actually get to painting. Woo! Painting! I fly to above the height limit, which that's at height limit, then it goes, no block in sight, and freaks out a little bit. This is actually, because it's in light a little bit further, this is going to stay that for a bit longer at the lightest level here. But just through there, I think. Alrighty. And down darker. Yeah, you can see that it looks like it has freckles because of that really big jump to between the soul soil and the black terracotta. Thanks, brain, for coming up with that. So it's making this freckled effect. I was kind of worried about that. I might have to manually fix that a little bit at the end. I'm not sure how to blend that as well with these percentages. It's just going to be kind of messy for a second. Some of that's actually going to come up a little bit more. There. And then really dark stuff. And this is where I start to go, maybe my gradient isn't working quite so hot. Gonna have to, there's a definite line there that's gonna need to be cleaned up significantly. Yeah, it's making really stark line there. I worried about that. But we'll just roll with it at this point, and then I'll clean it up later. And potentially change my gradient around as well. think part of the problem is that I almost wonder if I need to remove the black terracotta. It's a darker value than both the soul soil and the black stone. I wonder if I need to have it fade to something a little bit less saturated, like mud. Mud would be silly to put down here, but it might be the better block. Let me color this in, and then I'll try replacing that with mud and see how I feel about it. I don't know how far to bring this down before I move to the next layer. So at this point it's just the lava shining up on the rest of it that makes the next bits. And I can go through and actually create more defined veins and stuff running up from the lava as well, instead of just being a flat gradient here. Yeah, that stark line. It's just really bothering me right now. But keep pushing on for a second. I might need to change some of my percentages also to try to remove some of the stark lines between my brushes. And anywhere that it's like this would actually get, it would be darker further down on this rock, just because it's facing away from the lava, and so I have to be a little bit more mindful of that as well. So that one actually might blend up a bit more. Oops. That's looking a little bit better than just straight lines all the way through. This needs to be brighter. Just a little bit. Alright. This is probably just going to be, I might as well just fill all of this in with shroom lights, because this is going to be at the lava level. I almost worry I didn't put enough shroom-light stuff down here at the bottom. I don't know where lava level is exactly. It's part of the problem. Oops. And I can still make like different veins running up from there. Probably should just place pure shroom lights down here, but yeah. It's all going to be covered by lava anyway, so you won't see any of it. It's kind of cool. I do worry again about that stark line. I think I'm done with these brushes. No, I can do more by hand or adjust more brushes as needed. But I wanted to look at Mr. Mud. Will you do what I want you to do, or will you just be awful? That is the question. I do believe the answer is... well, actually, that might work. Because you have to know I'm going from this block to the black stone. That might actually be the gap bridge that we needed. Yeah, sure. Your new roll is a brush that is just a sphere of... sorry, mud. That's what I'm doing. Mod. And your size is going to be 15. And your mask is just going to be black terracotta. I think I will kind of miss the really dark brown that you got from the black terracotta, but I think it was just a bit too saturated. I almost worry that the mud isn't saturated enough. Yeah. I almost wonder if I need to fade to more of the red from the netherrack and go a nether brick route instead of doing, because I really like the it is a little bit busy, isn't it? It's like really busy. I'm wondering if I should do more of a netherrack and do more, make it more red colored down here. So if I turn the gilded black stone into netherrack, and then the black stone into what I need, well, I don't know if I can actually just select the center here, so that's why I should just stick with brushes. But here is my thought process. If I do, where is it? Here we go. If I fade into netherrack from here and then go to nether brick, wherever it may be, especially if it's like a red nether brick, that'll be nice and dark. And then I could go from there to the black terracotta. And then it gets more of a red cast to it instead of the gray cast. I'm not sure I like the gray cast. Am I skipping a step there? No, maybe? Because then netherrack replaces the gilded. Red nether brick replaces black stone. Yeah, no, that's right. Okay, let's try it. Oop. No. Let's just do that, and do the size manually, because that's how I do better. Mask, gilded blackstone. I think this is too busy, just as it is. Anyway. Alrighty. And then the next on my list is the red nether brick. And we are masking blackstone. It's definitely red. Then we're putting the mud back to black terracotta. That's what we're doing. Right. Black terracotta. Mask mud. Size 15. Looks like I missed some bits here and there. I'll have to fix that. Missed a lot of bits over there. I'm not convinced I like it. Darn it. That looks terrible. Doesn't help that I left some black stone in here accidentally. Mangrove is too dull. Yeah, no, that's blends with the netherrack, and that's about all it does for me. I don't think the redstone block is going to work here. Which is a shame, because it has a really nice bright red color to it that you don't get anywhere else. Like, a nice orangey red, I should specify. But the problem is that it doesn't blend with anything else. I do like it, it's like fiery and stuff, but I just don't think it'll blend in this case. I'm not entirely happy at all with this gradient though, so... I may have to spend some time experimenting with colors. Because right now it's just not blending at all. This is all the gradient I already had up here, but then the moment I get into the black terracotta, it turns into freckles and looks really bad. And then everything else, it's not blending the way I want it to. That's a shame. Darn it. Oh, where's my, oops. There. Make sure I'm coloring everything. I think going to that bright red of the red nether bricks was a mistake. And I'm not convinced I like any of it. Yep, I'll have to come to mess with it later. It is getting a little bit late for me though, and I need to start working on dinner and such. So unfortunately, I think I have to get going for today, but it has been fun, and I'm glad that you guys came and supported me and decided to come check out what I'm working on here. We'll have to fix this later. I don't like it. But at least the forest turned out better. Maybe what I should do is fly back over to the forest again and stare at that and be like, look at what I did, because it's better than this. And we'll have to paint the forest again as well. And then I think after that, the only things we have to do is some minor touch-ups on some of the rocks that are around, specifically around Lake Hylia. And then I'm done with the terrain, and I can start building trees and putting trees in, and then I can, once I get trees in, then I can start putting in the temples and the existing builds that I've already made. So for now, I will cut to here. There. We can look at my beautiful rocks. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for coming to the stream, guys. I appreciate you coming and supporting me. I do have news for you guys. I've actually been doing the editing for Echoes of Wisdom, though what I thought was going to be one episode turned into 3 episodes, because apparently I spend forever on each individual one. So I do have some episodes to start releasing. I'll probably just progressively add them, send them out to you guys, just to I'll scatter them so I'm not just dumping them all at once. And in the meantime, I will also be working on doing my Baroque build, and so things to look forward to on my channel. Hooray! And also, just in case you didn't get the memo, I am planning on making this stream be a regular once a month. So the first Saturday of every month, I'm going to be streaming. So that means that my next stream will be, let me look at my calendar. Calendar. So the next stream would then be Saturday, August 2nd at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will look forward to seeing you then. For now, take care. Goodbye!